I want you to picture a street in Derby, England. It's Victory Road. The date is May 11, 2012. It's just before 4 a.m. Now, if you know anything about the UK suburbs at that hour, you know it is dead quiet.
Absolutely silent.
The streetlights are humming. Most of the city is fast asleep. But inside number 18, the air is starting to change. It's getting hotter. And within minutes, this ordinary council house is going to turn into an absolute inferno.
And that fire doesn't just destroy a house. It triggers a chain of events that exposes one of the darkest, most twisted family dynamics in British legal history.
We are looking at the Philpott case today. And I have to be honest with you, looking at this stack of notes, I thought I knew this story. I really did. I remember the headlines. Shameless Mick.
Oh, yeah. Everyone remembers Shameless Mick. He was a media caricature, a sort of folk devil for a while.
Exactly. The guy on the talk shows. I thought it was a story about, welfare fraud that went tragically wrong, or maybe just a horrific accident involving a chaotic family.
That's the narrative that's stuck.
But when you actually dig into these court transcripts, the psychological profiles you pulled, and the history, a history dating back 40 years, this isn't a story about benefits.
No, that's the distraction. That's the shiny object the media, and frankly he himself, waved around for everyone to look at.
This is a story about a level of coercive control that is so extreme it's almost hard to believe it's real. We are talking about a man who ran a literal cult inside a 3-bedroom, semi-detached house.
That is the key word, cult. The mission for this deep dive is to strip away that tabloid caricature we all remember. We need to get past the headlines.
Right.
We need to understand the psychology of Mick Philpott, a man diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, and really try to understand how he manipulated women, the media, and the legal system to facilitate the deaths of his own children.
It is a heavy one. We've got criminal records here dating back to the 70s, the forensic fire reports, the full trial transcripts, and updates on everyone involved right up to late 2025. So let's take a breath and let's go back. Because you can't understand the fire in 2012 without understanding what happened in 1978.
You really can't. The fire was the final chapter of the book, but the prologue was written decades earlier. The pattern was set.
So let's unpack this. 1978, Mick Philpott is 21 years old. I'm looking at his file here, and there's a name that keeps popping up. Kim Hill.
Kim Hill. She was his girlfriend at the time. She was 17 at the time of the major attack that sent him to prison.
17.
But they'd been together since she was 15. He was 19.
Which is already, that's a massive red flag regarding power dynamics right from the start. You have a grown man and a schoolgirl.
It's a huge power imbalance. And before we even get to the stabbing that finally got the law involved, there are 2 incidents in your notes that are, they are bizarre.
Yeah.
They show a specific type of pathology that isn't just angry young man.
Yeah. I read this 3 times to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. The crossbow incident.
Yes, the crossbow.
He shot her with a crossbow.
He did. He shot her in the groin with a crossbow bolt.
Sorry, crossbow. In a domestic setting. Where do you even get a crossbow in 1978 Derby? It's not like popping down the shops.
It speaks to the premeditation, the strangeness of his violence. But you have to look at the reason why. It wasn't a fight about money. It wasn't a drunken brawl where things got out of hand.
It says here he thought her dress was too short.
Exactly. It was punitive. It was about policing her sexuality and her body. You wear a short dress. I will physically punish the part of your body that makes you a woman.
It's symbolic.
It's symbolic violence. It's him saying, I own this. I control how you present this to the world.
That is terrifying. Just the psychology behind that decision is chilling. And then there's the hammer incident.
Equally disturbing. She was minding a baby, not even their baby, you have to understand, just looking after a child for someone else. And Mick felt she was paying too much attention to the infant and ignoring him. So he took a hammer and cracked her kneecap.
That is textbook narcissism, isn't it? I must be the center of the universe at all times. If a baby is getting more attention than me, I will resort to violence.
It is, but it's also what we call instrumental violence.
Mm-hmm.
He uses pain to correct behavior he doesn't like. He's training her like you'd train an animal.
Don't do that again, or this is what happens.
Yes. And this all culminates in July 1978. Kim, somehow, finally builds up the courage to leave him. She sends him a letter saying it's over.
And for a guy like Philpott, rejection isn't just sad. It's a profound insult to his very existence.
It's a loss of ownership. He can't handle it. He breaks into her house while she is sleeping, and he stabs her.
Not once or twice. It says here over a dozen times.
13 times, yes. And it gets worse. Kim's mother hears the commotion, tries to jump in to save her daughter, which is the instinct of any parent, and he turns the knife on her too. He stabs the mother.
Unbelievable.
Kim suffered collapsed lungs, punctured kidneys, a punctured liver. It is a miracle, a literal medical miracle, that she survived that attack.
Okay, so he goes to court. It's 1978. He's convicted of attempted murder and grievous bodily harm with intent. I'm expecting, I don't know, 20 years. Life. For something that brutal.
You would think so, wouldn't you? He got 7 years.
7! For trying to butcher 2 women in their bed.
7! And hold on, because it gets worse than that. He served 3 years and 2 months.
Like, get out. How is that even possible? 3 years for nearly killing 2 people.
It was a different era in British sentencing, that's part of it. And domestic violence specifically was often viewed through this warped lens of crimes of passion rather than cold-blooded attempted murder.
So the system saw it as him just losing his temper.
In a way, yes. The system was incredibly lenient on men who snapped in a domestic setting. But think about the lesson Mick Philpott learns here. He's 24 years old. He has just stabbed a woman nearly to death for leaving him. And he is out in 36 months.
He learns he is untouchable.
He learns that the price of nearly killing a woman is just a short time out. He's not rehabilitated. That sense of impunity, that is the seed that grows into the fire in 2012. He didn't learn his lesson. He learned he could survive the consequences.
And clearly the behavior didn't stop. Because as we look through the 80s and 90s in these records, the pattern just repeats. It's like a blueprint.
It's a carousel of control. He marries a woman named Pamela Lomax in 1986. They have 3 kids. Her description of him is chillingly simple. She said he was controlling, and she prayed he would move on.
She didn't pray for him to change.
No.
She just wanted to survive him leaving.
That's how trapped she felt. Just please go away and leave me in one piece.
And he did move on, but to someone even more vulnerable. This is where it gets even more disturbing.
Heather Kehoe. He met her when she was 14. He was 37.
14.
Yeah.
That's predatory. There is no other word for it. It's grooming, plain and simple.
She ran away from her parents to live with him on her 16th birthday. And again, the control over reproduction comes straight into play. She gave birth to 2 sons. But Philpott wanted a daughter.
He had a specific order.
He did. And he actually beat this teenager because she failed to give him a daughter.
It's biological nonsense, obviously. The man determines the sex of the baby, but it shows that he views these women and children as objects to fulfill his specific requests. Like ordering from a catalog. I wanted the blue one. You gave me the red one.
Exactly. He even taught his older sons from his first marriage to be violent toward her. It's about creating an environment where he is the only authority, the absolute dictator.
He's building his own private army inside the house.
By 2002, Heather Kehoe managed to escape and gain legal custody of her children, but the damage was done. And even in the workplace, the violence leaked out. In 1991, he got a conditional discharge for headbutting a colleague.
So we have a man who solves problems with violence hammers, crossbows, knives, headbutts. This is the man who, by the mid-2000s, starts appearing on our televisions. And this is the disconnect I really want to unpack. How do we go from convicted attempted murderer to TV character?
Well, the media loves a character, and Philpott was eager to play the role. By 2006, he is living at 18 Victory Road. This is the council house that becomes infamous. And he has constructed what the tabloids gleefully called his harem.
Right. This is the setup that got everyone's attention. He has his wife, Mairead, who he married in 2003. And he has his mistress, Lisa Willis, who moved in back in 2002.
And between them, the house is full of children. I think the records say 18 children in total associated with him over the years, though not all lived there at the same time. But you had Mairead, Lisa, and this brood all under one roof.
And this is where the media latched on. He started demanding a larger council house.
He did. He went to the press, complaining that his 3-bedroom house wasn't big enough for his family, for his 2 women and all the kids, and the tabloids ate it up.
Shameless Mick is born.
That's the moment. He becomes a symbol of everything people were angry about, the benefits lifestyle.
He even went on the Jeremy Kyle show.
He did. He went on there to defend his lifestyle. Said he wanted to marry one, divorce her, marry the other, then get a vasectomy.
Yeah.
It was a circus, and he was the ringmaster. He loved it.
And the high point of this media tour, if you can call it that, was the documentary with Ann Whitcomb.
Ann Whitcomb versus 2007. Yes, a conservative member of parliament goes to live with him for a week to see how the other half lives.
And the details she observed from the source material you've got here, they are just astonishing.
They are. The most bizarre thing was the living arrangement.
The caravan.
The caravan in the garden. Mick didn't sleep in the house with his wives. He slept in a caravan. And Mairead and Lisa were on a rota.
Like a shift pattern for
Yeah.
sleeping with your own husband.
A shift pattern. One night, Mairead goes out to the caravan. The next night, Lisa goes out. It was this bizarre, scheduled, passionless system.
That sounds awful. It sounds like a prison camp. There's no humanity in that.
It was. Whitcomb stayed there for a week. And she noted, very pointedly, that he used the word bitch to refer to both women interchangeably. There was no respect. It was, make me a tea, bitch. And they did it.
Why? That's the question I keep asking myself. Why stay in that situation?
Whitcomb asked that too. It's the boiled frog effect. He isolates them. He destroys their self-esteem. He makes them completely financially dependent on him because all the benefit money goes to him.
He holds the purse strings.
Completely. By the time they realize they are in a prison, the door is locked and he has the key. But Whitcomb noticed something else, something really chilling about the children.
She said they didn't go to him for affection. Right?
Correct. In a normal, chaotic house, kids are jumping on Dad, pulling his leg, asking for attention. In that house, she observed that they gave him a wide berth. They kept their distance.
That is a massive tell.
It's huge. They were afraid of him. And she tried to help him, you know. She found him a job at a barrel-making firm.
And he didn't show up.
Failed to show up on day one, because work would mean losing control of his day and losing some of his benefits.
So the shameless Mick persona, the lazy, benefit-scrounging Lothario, was true on the surface. But underneath, the psychologist Glenn Wilson later diagnosed him as an exhibitionist with antisocial personality disorder, who is feeding off the attention.
He was. But the thing about narcissists and controllers is that their entire world is fragile. Their power depends on the compliance of the people around them. And as we move into 2011 and 2012, that compliance started to crack.
This is the catalyst, right? The system he so carefully built at 18 Victory Road starts to fall apart.
The primary trigger was Lisa Willis,
The mistress.
the mistress. In February 2012, after years in that house, she did something incredibly brave. She left, she took her children, and she moved out.
And for Philpott, this isn't just a breakup. This is a declaration of war.
Oh, it's a triple blow. First, it's a catastrophic blow to his ego. Someone walked away from him. Second, it's a blow to his control over his little kingdom.
And
third, and very importantly for Philpott, it was a financial blow. When she left with her children, the benefits associated with those children left too. A huge chunk of his income just walked out the door.
so the income stream dries up, the public humiliation sets in, and the tension must have been skyrocketing in that house.
It was palpable. The court records show he was becoming more erratic. Just a week before the fire, he was in court for a road rage incident where he punched another driver. He pleaded guilty to common assault.
Punching a driver, again, just resorting to immediate violence when frustrated. It's his only tool.
It's his default setting. And inside the marriage to Mairead, things were getting even more depraved. During the later trial, it came out that starting in 2011, Mick and Mairead were involved in dogging public sex acts with strangers.
And there was a detail about that which really highlighted his control over her body. Right?
Yeah.
It was just astonishing.
Yes, Mairead became pregnant by another man during these sessions, and Mick Philpott instructed her, he ordered her, to have an abortion, and she did.
He couldn't stand the idea of her having a child that wasn't his, even though he was forcing her into this situation.
It exemplifies his total dominance. He decides when she gets pregnant, who she sleeps with, and when she terminates a pregnancy. Her body is his property.
So we have a pressure cooker. Lisa's left. He's losing money. He's losing control. And there is a court hearing scheduled regarding custody of Lisa's children.
And that hearing is scheduled for the very morning of the fire.
That timing, that can't be a coincidence.
It is absolutely not a coincidence.
No.
May 11, 2012. The very morning he is supposed to face a judge about custody and potentially lose for good, the house goes up in flames.
Let's go back to that night. 4 a.m., 18 Victory Road.
A petrol-fueled fire rips through the hallway. Now, you have to understand the layout of these post-war council houses. The stairs are often right by the front door. It's a very common design.
So the escape route.
The escape route becomes the danger zone. The stairs act like a chimney. The fire starts at the bottom, and all the heat, all the smoke just funnels straight upstairs.
So the upstairs becomes a trap.
An absolute death trap. And the smoke, people think fire kills you by burning. It doesn't usually. It's the smoke. It's toxic, thick, black smoke that knocks you out before you even wake up properly.
And we need to name the children. Because in all this talk of Mick and court cases and media, they are the ones who matter. They were the ones sleeping upstairs, completely innocent in all this.
Absolutely. We have Jade, who was 10, John, who was 9, Jack, age 7, Jesse, age 6, and Jaden, who was only 5. They all died at the scene in their beds.
And Dwayne, he was older.
Dwayne was the oldest in the house that night, age 13. He was pulled out by firefighters. He fought for his life, but he died in the hospital 2 days later. All of them, the coroner confirmed, died from smoke inhalation.
It is just unimaginable. 6 children gone in a single night. And in the immediate aftermath, the community in Jorby is devastated. Neighbors are trying to break windows, trying to get in. But Mick, the reports say Mick is behaving strangely.
Witnesses at the scene reported it immediately. He was behaving in a way that seemed performed. He was throwing himself around, making a lot of noise, but not actually helping. One observer noted he appeared to like the media attention, even while the smoke was still clearing from his house.
The cameras are on him again.
And he's the center of attention.
And then came that press conference on May 16th. I think anyone who was watching the news in the UK at that time remembers it. Mick and Mairead sitting there, wiping away tears.
It was an emotional performance, or an attempt at one. He was trying to act the part of the grieving father. They purported to describe the horror of the event. They thanked the firefighters.
And the public bought it initially.
Of course they did. Why wouldn't you? Who assumes a father burned his own house down with his children inside? It's the unthinkable.
So the community rallied. A charity was set up called Catch Me When I Fall. Locals raised over £11,000 for the funerals.
It shows the best of human nature responding to what they thought was the worst of tragedies. People signed books of condolence at Derby Cathedral. The funerals were held on June 22. But, and this is a chilling detail, Mick and Mairead did not attend the funerals for their own 6 children.
Why not?
Because by June 22, the narrative had flipped entirely. They were already in custody.
So let's pivot to the investigation. This is fascinating. How do we get from grieving father to prime suspect in just a few weeks?
It's where forensic science meets police intuition. The fire investigation team, the specialists, they were suspicious almost immediately.
Because of the petrol.
Yes. They found petrol inside the letterbox. Now, fires don't accidentally start with petrol inside a UPVC letterbox. That's not a thing that happens.
Right.
That indicates an intentional pour through the door from the outside. This was deliberate.
So it was definitely arson.
Definite arson. But initially, the Philpotts tried to spin this. The theory, and what they likely wanted the police to believe, was that Lisa Willis, the disgruntled ex-mistress, had done it as an act of revenge.
Ah, so that was the game. Frame Lisa.
That was the suspected master plan. In fact, the police played along initially. They had to follow the evidence. Lisa Willis and her brother-in-law were arrested.
I bet Philpott loved that. He must have thought, it's working.
For a moment, it probably seemed like his master plan was in action, but they were released without charge very quickly. The evidence just didn't point to them. It pointed back to the house.
What specifically pointed to Mick and Mairead? This is a CSI moment. What was the smoking gun, so to speak?
Forensic investigators tested the clothing they were wearing that night. They found petrol on Mick's track pants, they found it on Mairead's leggings, and they found it on the clothes of a family friend, Paul Mosley.
Paul Mosley. We haven't talked about him much. Who is he?
He was a friend of the couple, often at the house, a bit of a hanger-on. He was essentially the third wheel in this plot, the accomplice who helped them.
And they found other evidence.
A discarded petrol container and a glove were found near the house, tying the physical evidence together. But the police needed more than just petrol traces. They needed to know what was in their heads. They needed a confession.
And this is where the surveillance comes in. This detail always gets me. The police bugged their hotel room.
It was a brilliant tactical move. After the fire, the house is a crime scene, so the Philpotts are put up in a local premier inn. The police got authorization for covert recording devices in that room. They were listening to every single whisper.
And what they heard confirmed everything.
It confirmed they were responsible. They were caught whispering about sticking to the story, about what they'd told police. But it also captured something that disgusted even the most hardened detectives on the case.
What was that?
While their 6 children were lying in the morgue awaiting autopsy or burial, the microphones picked up Mairead engaging in a sex act with Paul Mosley.
With Paul Mosley.
Yes, with Mick present and seemingly encouraging it.
I mean, no moral compass is a phrase that gets thrown around, but it's beyond comprehension. It's a complete emotional void.
It highlights the bizarre detached behavior. It is not the behavior of grieving parents. It's the behavior of people who think they have gotten away with something or who simply do not value the lives that were just lost in the most horrific way.
So on May 28th, they're arrested,
Yeah.
and eventually they are charged. But this is important. They weren't convicted of murder. They were convicted of manslaughter. Why the distinction? That seems to confuse a lot of people.
This is a crucial legal point, and it comes down to intent. The prosecution accepted, based on the evidence and the bugged conversations, that Mick and Mairead did not intend to kill the children.
They didn't want them dead after all that.
The prosecution's case was that they didn't. The plan, as the prosecution laid it out, was to start a small, controllable fire.
And then what?
And then rescue the children, emerging from the smoke as heroes.
A rescue plan. A fake rescue.
Yes. A horribly misguided and reckless stunt. Start a fire, blame the ex-mistress Lisa, save the kids, and look like a hero father in the eyes of the community and the courts.
So if Lisa's framed for arson, she goes to jail, and Mick gets custody of her kids back.
Exactly. He wins back the kids, he wins back the benefits that came with them, and he destroys the woman who dared to leave him. It was, in his mind, a perfect plan.
A high-risk gamble.
But the fire spread too fast, the UPVC door frame, the cheap carpets, the smoke was too toxic. They couldn't get back upstairs to get the kids out. The stunt became a massacre.
That almost makes it worse. Treating your own children as props in a stunt.
It's treating them as pawns, expendable pieces in a game of control and revenge. That's all they were to him in that moment.
So the trial happens in early 2013 at Nottingham Crown Court. You've got Mick, Mairead, and Paul Mosley in the dock.
And in April 2013, the verdicts come in. All three are found guilty of manslaughter.
And the sentencing. The judge must have had a lot to say.
Mrs. Justice Thirlwall did not hold back. She sentenced Mick Philpott to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 15 years. She described him as a disturbingly dangerous man with no moral compass. She was clear that he was the driving force, the architect of this whole tragedy.
And then Mairead and Paul Mosley.
They each got 17 years. The law at the time meant they would have to serve half before being considered for release. The judge viewed them as being under Mick's influence, but still fully culpable for their participation in this reckless scheme that killed 6 children.
And it was only after the verdict, right, that the jury and the wider public learned about the 1978 conviction, the stabbing.
Yes. That's a standard part of British law, to withhold prior convictions so as not to prejudice the jury. So when the verdict was read and then the reporting restrictions were lifted, there was this collective gasp from the public. Everyone suddenly realized, wait, this man stabbed a woman 13 times in 1978 and was out in 3 years. It added a whole new layer of outrage and a sense that the system had failed long before 2012.
So that was 2013. We are now, for the purpose of this deep dive,
Yeah.
in early 2026. What has happened to these 3 people since?
Well, the timeline has moved forward, as it does. Mairead Philpott appealed her sentence in November 2013.
On what grounds? What was her argument?
She argued that she was under Mick's coercive control and couldn't exercise free choice. Essentially, the "he made me do it" defense.
Did the court buy it?
No. The appeal was dismissed. The court ruled that while he was clearly a controlling and dominant figure, she was a grown woman and a mother who had a primary duty to protect her children, not participate in a plan to set their house on fire.
So she served her time.
She did. Mairead was released on license in 2020 after serving half her 17-year sentence.
Wow. That must have been a difficult day for the community in Derby and for the families of the victims.
It was very controversial. She was given a new identity, presumably, to protect her from vigilante attacks, and she has disappeared from public life.
And Paul Mosley.
A similar story initially. He was also released on license after serving half his sentence. However, there is a very recent update on him in the files. In October of 2025, just a few months ago relative to our date today, Paul Mosley was found dead at a property in Portsmouth.
So he is gone. And Mick, the man at the center of it all.
Mick Philpott remains in prison. He got the life sentence, remember. The 15 years was just the minimum tariff before he could even apply for parole. It doesn't mean he gets out automatically. He'll have to convince a parole board he's no longer a danger.
And is he still? Mick, is there any sign of remorse or change?
By all accounts, no. There was a report in 2021 that he wanted a reunion with Mairead upon her release.
A reunion. After she divorced him in prison and her testimony helped convict him?
It shows the sheer delusion. The narcissism is completely intact. In his mind, he still believes he owns her. He still believes he can reconstruct that life of control. It's pure narcissism, impervious to reality.
So we've unpacked the history, the crime, the media circus, the trial. When we pull back and look at this big picture, What are we really seeing here? What's the takeaway?
We are seeing the catastrophic failure to connect the dots. A societal failure, really. We had a man with a documented violent history of stabbing women. We had social services involved for years due to the sheer number of children in his care. And we had a media that turned his abusive, controlling, and frankly dangerous behavior into light entertainment.
We laughed at the clown and missed the killer standing right behind him.
Precisely. We, as a society, treated his harem as a joke about the benefits system rather than identifying it for what it was. A high-risk environment of extreme coercive control run by a known violent offender. The red flags were not just waving, they were being broadcast on national television.
And the cost was Jade, John, Jack, Jesse, Jaden, and Dwayne. 6 kids who were, in the end, treated as currency. Assets to be fought over for money or props to be used in a twisted revenge plot.
That is the ultimate tragedy. They were never treated as individuals by their father. They were extensions of his ego. And when his ego was threatened, when his control slipped, they became collateral damage.
It's a heavy story, but a necessary one to understand, I think. It forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question. We often laugh at characters in the media who live outside social norms. We consume poverty porn or reality TV spectacles because they're entertaining. But when does our consumption of that spectacle blind us to the abuse happening right in front of the cameras? Was the warning sign there in 1978 ignored because the show was just too entertaining?
That is the question we should all be asking ourselves. When we see these characters, what are we really looking at?
Thank you for listening to this deep dive. It wasn't an easy one, but we hope it sheds some light on the reality behind the headlines. Check your sources, stay curious, and look out for each other.